love is in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Would you protest that at all?
I wouldn't protest that. You know, I'm a romantic myself.
Yeah, we're at the time of recording this, we're a month away from Valentine's Day.
That's right. I'm getting ready. I'm prepping.
Love is in the air, and I'm glad to hear that you're prepping because Matt Walsh actually has some advice for the fellas that may be planning to get their significant other a gift.
Oh,
coming
really?
Up on this Valentine's
I bet
Day.
Matt Walsh is a real thoughtful guy. I bet he's going to have some good insights on how to, you know, surprise your significant other.
I think he'll surprise you with this take.
Oh, really? Okay, all right, yeah.
This was making its round, so trigger warning for Matt Walsh.
Notoriously a kind, warm, welcoming guy.
Yeah, very. He has great takes on everything related to gender, relationships.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, straight up, I'm a fan. So here's Matt Walsh, and he's got some advice for us going into this Valentine's holiday. So let's take a listen to what he has to say.
Okay.
But, of course, 97% of us are buying the Valentine's Day gift on the way home from work on February 14th. But buying a Valentine's Day gift for your wife a month early is the gayest thing you could do. Don't do that, because if it's January 3rd and you tell your wife, I got you Valentine's Day gift already, she's going to say, so you're gay. Well, that kind of ruins Valentine's Day, doesn't it?
So fucking
Fellas,
stupid.
is it gay to love your wife?
Yeah. It's so stupid. I have a couple of thoughts here. First he's saying, don't be thoughtful.
Yeah.
Do not think ahead of time.
Get a box of chocolates you found at Rite Aid on your way home.
Yeah, it's gay, apparently, to think what you want to get your significant other for Valentine's Day. Second, I just feel like this is so fucking lazy.
Oh, my God, I know.
He doesn't believe this. He's just saying this because it's like women suck, right?
Yeah, this is, I fucking hate my wife. Am I right, guys?
And then my last feeling is like, okay, so it's already lazy. It's uninspired. It's stupid. Classic conservative dribble.
Yeah.
But some incel is going to watch this and be like, haha, yeah, women suck. You should not put any thought into what you're going to get them for Valentine's Day or any other holiday. And it's like, no wonder nobody likes you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no wonder all these people are in loveless, unhappy marriages. It's like, yeah, fellas, come on, let's be real. Everybody on the way home from work, you're getting a box of chocolates, a discount box of chocolates, and some dead flowers.
Yeah, like, no. If you're in a loving relationship, you are putting at least a little bit of thought into getting somebody a gift. You know, there's a critique you can have around like commercialism and like I don't know the commodification of love and stuff like that.
It's just another Hallmark holiday to get you to spend money.
Yeah,
okay,
you can have that position, but he's just saying here like you should not put any thought behind what you get for the person you love.
Yeah, he said it's fucking gay to love your wife, dog. It is fucking gay to get like a necklace.
That's why I was like, I watched this. I had that reaction. You know, I laughed. I was like, this is ridiculous. But then it's just like, it's so lazy. It's so like you give this same script to Tucker Carlson, he sells it. You know, I believe it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he says it with conviction. This guy, he's going through the motions like, fellas, it's kind of gay.
But Matt Walsh is like, that's the gayest thing you could do. At least try.
Say it. Oh,
conservatives used to try. They just don't try anymore. They just, hey, this is the gayest thing you could do.
It's like he's tired of it at this point.
Anyway, if you right now, if you're a man and you're planning on getting your significant other a gift, now more than about a month out from Valentine's Day, that's gay.
Well, specifically your wife. So if you're a man and specifically your wife, then that's fucking
this
gay.
is for the heteros out there.
If you're in a homosexual relationship, if you're a man who loves other men, completely fine.
Oh well, yeah, because it's the gayest thing you can do.
Honestly, I would encourage you to get a gift in December.
Yeah,
really,
you're falling into the norms. Yeah,
that's I don't know, sexuality affirming.
Yeah, but if this is for the sissies in our
the
audience,
sissy heteros.
If you're a sissy hetero and you're in a relationship, then and you're a man specifically, if you're thinking about getting your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, a gift this far out, I got bad news for you.
Fuck you doing? You should be thinking about the playoffs.
Yeah,
right now. That's it.
You should be cheering on the Lions. Anyways, I believe you have a clip for us.
We got another one today. I saw this one on the real Donald Trump's Instagram.
Okay,
it's a wonderful banger of a clip that he posted, and I don't want to say it's like an attack ad, but it's a fun little video criticizing his opponent this year in the election.
Okay, so we got an attack ad on from Donald Trump on Joe Biden. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Well,
maybe Marianne Williams, maybe Cornel West.
Maybe he's attacking Ron Desantis. Maybe he feels threatened by. I don't know.
It's true.
All right, let's get it rolling.
That's a good one.
At White House Senior Living, our residents feel right at home. Our vibrant facility offers delightful activities and outings.
It's Joe Biden for those not watching.
Professional care and exquisite house-made meals.
Well, I've been eating everything that's put in front of me. I've been eating all Italian foods, basically.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
White House Senior Living,
Oh
where
man.
residents feel like presidents.
Oh fuck,
Like, dog,
man.
it's crazy mostly because it's one, you're that old.
Yeah.
Like, if this isn't the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that was my thought too. Is like it's 4 years younger than Joe Biden.
Yeah, I don't
You
even know if
also-
it's 4. I think it might be 3.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's like you would also belong in senior living. Like, let's just be honest.
But it's also like the clips that he chose to show that this guy is old in the White House are just clips of him being a regular dude. There are so many other clips that you could have picked where he's, I don't know, gaffing, where he's stuttering like crazy, where he completely forgets where
he falls
is,
down.
where he literally trips.
Yeah.
But no, you want to show him walking around the premises and eating pizza?
Yeah, and it's like Joe Biden's known for eating ice cream, big dog.
That's what, if anything, he's more likable now. Like, if anything, he's more likable. This is the easiest thing to attack this guy on, and he still fumbled?
Yeah.
Come on, what are we doing?
And there's that insane hypocrisy. Like, Trump, you are that old, my guy.
I'm saying.
But I'm gonna guess like he probably had some help making this, or maybe it was not even somebody on staff that made it for him.
Yeah.
But this just shows me like Trump obviously endorses this message. He probably laughed at it. He thought it was good.
He's like, ha.
He belongs in entertainment.
Oh my
Like,
God,
he
I
should
know.
not be a politician. We lost a gem in the world.
That's what I'm
by
saying.
putting him into politics.
The Apprentice, did that get canceled? Is that why he went on into politics?
Probably.
Oh my God, we need to give him
Yeah.
another show on. I like Fox.
Yeah, it's just it's sad to see. You know, Trump winning the 2016 election was bad for a variety of reasons, but the number one reason that was bad is because we don't get to hear funny things from him that aren't politically charged.
That's what I'm saying. Or if anything, you know what? When Tucker Carlson got fired, why didn't we replace Trump? Why didn't we replace him with Trump?
Yeah.
That's what we should have put our energy into doing.
Yeah, we could have dropped all charges against him, and he could have just been a personality.
I'll tell you what. You know, I'll give you a prime time slot, 9 p.m. on one of the 3 major news networks in the country, and if you take it and if you do it, deliver 4 days a week, even. All 4 indictments gone.
Yeah, and it's funny with Trump. It's like they're both old, but they're old in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Like Joe Biden's the kind of like he's always had a stutter. Like that's not anything new for Joe Biden. Even when he was a young senator, he had a stutter. But obviously, like mental deterioration is taking its toll on Joe Biden. For Trump, he can still like string sentences together, but he just makes no fucking sense.
And he just goes on these wicked tangents,
And
he's all the time.
On the campaign trail now, he's had several times where he said that Obama is the president. Like he has said Obama is the current president. He had one time where he was saying like my policies in 2016 did this, this, and this. He wasn't in the White House in 2016. Like he is obviously just as old as Joe Biden. His mental capacity is deteriorating in the same way. It's just that they're manifesting differently. And for some reason, I guess that means Trump's not old. Trump is fit for office and Biden isn't.
Or it's just, dude, I don't know. I just insane thing to post.
Yeah.
Insane thing to get behind. And people in the comments are eating it up.
Yeah, no, I believe it. It's like Joe Biden's too old. Donald Trump is fit for office.
Donald Trump, 78 years young. You know what I'm saying? It's once you cross that 80-year mark, that's when things get crazy.
Yeah, no, that's
So,
what
you
that's
know.
where we should put the threshold right there.
Yeah.
Anyway. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. We've got a loaded episode for you today. We got to talk about the debate that just happened.
Of course.
We got to talk about some more geopolitical news that I'm upset that we got to talk about today.
That I'm reluctant to speak on.
We got some news to follow up on from Ohio, and then I think we got a story about taxes later on.
We got some
I
taxes.
saw that,
we got to dive into some tax data. You know, I just got my W-2 this week. Had me thinking about it. It was on my mind, so I want to put it on yours.
And we're gonna have to pay taxes on the pod because
I'm stressing about that. I
big
don't
government breathing down the necks of small business.
I don't know
owners.
what to do about that one.
But before we get into the episode, I will remind you all that you can support us by becoming a patron. It's an easy way to support the show.
Incredibly easy.
It keeps the show running, and it makes us very happy.
Makes me smile. Makes
and
me smile.
You'll get an ad-free experience on all of the episodes. You won't have to hear us yapping about go write an Apple Podcast review or anything like that. And of course you'll be contributing to the #1 geopolitical podcast, and I'll say it, #1 domestic politics podcast.
Oh my God, 100%. 100%. You know, we really have both categories just down on lock. But you
That's
know
right.
what we don't have on lock?
What don't we have on lock?
Our audience.
We don't. We lost them.
None of you want to give us reviews.
We're the-
None of you want to come to Apple and give us 5-star reviews. You're willing to turn your back on us in the critical moment right here in 2024, in an election year.
When we need you the most.
You're willing to falter.
Yeah, were the tears and the Cheerios once again this morning?
Yeah, they were. They were. I switched to oatmeal and blueberries, but oh my God.
I almost didn't make it to the studio this morning. I was just sitting in my car this morning, waiting until the ice melted off my windshield.
I just let it melt. I didn't scrape it.
No,
I just let it melt.
I was staring at it as it melted, thinking we don't have any Apple reviews. What's the point of even going into work today?
Fucking, I was sitting there. I was driving. I was coming up an overpass.
Yeah.
Said I should just.
Yeah.
I should just turn off right now.
What's the point if we don't have Apple reviews? And it's it's your guys' fault.
It is.
Leave a review.
It is.
We'll read it on the show. We have no 5-star reviews to read today.
We need community moderators coming through and saying, okay, we need a list of reserves. We need to have review reserve officers going on. And then they say, oh my God, it's Saturday evening. We don't have any reviews. We can't count on them naturally coming in.
Exactly.
I'm calling on X to go in there and get it.
We're invoking Article 5 of NATO.
That's right.
Every member nation's got to leave a review.
God damn.
Look, if we want to get to communism and we want to get to the bread line, how are we going to get there without the 5-star review lines?
God damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like, one precedes the other. There's an order of operations here.
How are we going to topple global capitalism without
Exactly.
5-star reviews, guys?
Think about it. Anyways, I guess we'll get right into the news coverage lacking those Apple reviews. We got to talk about the debate that just happened last Wednesday on January 10th. Quick interjection to let you know that the Hiddo Boys will be live on YouTube on January 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, covering the final Republican debate before the New Hampshire primary has concluded. That's January 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't get it twisted with a different debate that's happening on the 18th of January. Ours is on January 21st. I know they're hosting far too many of these things. If you want to be there with us and watch the debate live, watch Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis go toe-to-toe, make sure you join us on YouTube. Again, January 21st, 8 p.m. That's a Sunday. We hope to see you there, and we love you very much. We can suffer through it together because suffering through this one on my own was really sad and bad.
And that's what I was thinking. I was listening to it while I was at work, and there were moments that happened, small, tiny, minuscule moments that happened where I was like, I could quip about that. I could have quipped about that to a live audience of, say, like between 200 and 400 people for the, I don't know, 5th or 6th fucking debate.
Yeah.
And it would have laughed. Like when Nikki invoked 9/11 when she was talking about something. She's like, we need a lot of friends. We need a lot of friends on 9/12.
Yeah. On September 12th.
September 12th, they need a lot of friends. It's like Nikki 9/11 Haley. Yeah. Come on.
Nikki Nukaron Haley. What are we talking about?
gosh.
To make sure you come out, we'll be live on YouTube. The link will be distributed widely once we have it. But make sure you come out for that and support the show.
We'll be there an hour early. We'll have a little pre-show. Maybe if the community demands it, we can scrunch up a bingo card.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because we got just two doofuses that are basically the same person.
That's what I'm saying. We're honestly, I dare say, we're losing the people that brought us to bingo before. We lost Vivek. That means we lose Drill, Frack, and Burn. We lose a couple other things. We lose raising your hand like a fucking nerd.
Yeah, we lost Chris Christie.
We lost Chris Christie as a liberal.
Yes, he's a liberal.
We lost Chris Christie looks into the camera cornily.
Donald Duck.
My God,
what are we talking about? I think, Vivek didn't make it to this one. It's just DeSantis and Nikki Haley. And I think Vivek said something about like the woke media didn't let him get on.
Oh, so he didn't qualify?
He didn't qualify. He's not qualifying for the next one either. The thing is, like, the RNC makes the rules.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like the RNC probably has some corruption within it. They set the polling thresholds and stuff, but they're not dictating your polling data. You got to poll higher.
Yeah, but
people don't like you.
Jake Tapper was moderating it, so this is big CNN coming through and doing bad things to humble little Republican millionaires.
I guess that means we can get right into the coverage. Yeah, this was hosted by CNN, and one bad thing about CNN hosting it, other than it being the Communist News Network, is that it wasn't reposted anywhere.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I had to listen to the Brian Taylor Cohen stream to be able to listen to it the next day. Oh my God, that pissed me off.
And I appreciate Brian Tyler Cohen, a contemporary of ours, for streaming.
A coworker, dare I say.
He didn't talk over it as much as we do, but I wouldn't dare complain even if he did.
But he did the same fucking thing we do when we talk over it and just turned it down.
Yep. He had some good coverage. So it was the only replay I could find. That was just annoying. But I guess we can get into a couple of takeaways. Off rip, Nikki Haley, and this is just a couple of things I noticed. I want to say at the top here, this is probably the most lazy I've been putting together takeaways from a debate. It didn't matter to me.
There's not much to take. I feel like, honestly, like these debates at this point really are better covered live because everything they say is either a retread of old ground or it sucks. Every single thing they said felt focus group tested.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also like usually when we watch these debates, we'll get a great moment like Tim Scott saying break the back of the teachers union or Chris Christie doing the Donald Duck thing. And then we can watch it again on the show and laugh about it and riff about it and, you know, bring up stuff we didn't think about on the live. But this time I don't even have any clips.
This time that shit sucked.
There's nothing.
I watched this like a couple hours ago. And really the only thing sticking in my head is RonDeSantisLies.com.
Yeah,
she really just nailed the hammer, fucking hammered the nail in with that one.
Did you go to the website?
No, but I want to.
It's kind of sick.
Is it really?
Yeah, no, it's just like a DeSantis hit piece. And
That's
I appreciate
cool.
that. It's
That
just a
is
bunch of
cool.
stuff that he's lied about, which is like,
you know what? That may be a notable resource going
No,
forward.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
She's doing our job for us.
Anyway, Nikki Haley started off in her opening statement. She called South Carolina, of which the state which she was a governor, an economic powerhouse.
Oh man, that's
which
crazy.
is I mean, like with my intuition, I knew that wasn't true. But then I looked it up, and South Carolina's 24 in GDP in the United States and 44 in GDP per capita. So that's not true.
Economic powerhouse,
Yeah.
baby. Come on.
Both of them offered probably the weakest hits on Trump we've seen. I can't say all campaign cycle, but some of the weakest hits for sure.
Yeah.
They did not go after Trump very hard at all. All of it was like minor policy issues they had with Trump. Like DeSantis would say he didn't finish building the border wall, or Nikki Haley would say he was bad on Iran. Or something
I liked
like
that. That was one of my favorite bits because again he hit on this talking point that I don't know where he got it from. I don't know why he keeps nailing it home. It's the Donald Trump didn't finish the wall and he didn't make Mexico pay for it, but I'm going to by taxing remittances.
Oh yeah,
so good, man.
That was a good one. That was a good one. And also they brought up one of the legal issues Trump has right now, and his lawyers are basically arguing that because Trump was the president, he's immune to like any and all prosecution about everything he's ever done.
Yes,
which is an interesting legal strategy. Jake Tapper asked both the candidates about this.
It was particularly interesting because I think it was either the lawyers themselves invoked this or the judge said it and the lawyers agreed. But somebody in the case said, yeah, if the president were to assassinate a political rival, that would they would be immune because they're the president unless they were impeached and removed by the Senate.
That's a wacky thing to say.
And removed by the Senate.
Yeah.
A very interesting caveat there.
Yeah, so they asked both the candidates about that. Neither of them had a very strong response. Nikki Haley was more outwardly like, of course you can't do that. But it wasn't like the way she said it wasn't like an indictment of Trump, or it wasn't trying to say like, well, Trump is corrupt. It was just like, no, that's silly.
And then Ron DeSantis says some shit along the lines of, I'm not sure where the line falls.
Yeah. Yeah. It made me miss Chris Christie. Like, legitimately, I was like, Chris Christie would be like, no, absolutely, he's a criminal.
100%. Honestly, I miss Christie or Vivek. I don't know as much if I missed Vivek just because he's just a fucking nerd.
Get on my nerves.
I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Get on my nerves.
But I kind of miss Chris Christie's presence.
Yeah. Another takeaway I had was that, as you alluded to, the lying allegations were just flying.
Oh my God. No. They could not get a thing out.
No, almost every time, anytime Nikki Haley had a comment about Ron DeSantis or Ron DeSantis had a comment about Nikki Haley, the other one would just go, nuh-uh. That's not true.
No, I did not.
I didn't say that. No,
I did not. Ron DeAnecdote didn't come out as strong this time as he has before. There was no pan baby abortion stories.
Yeah,
there
we
was
didn't
no
get that.
fentanyl overdose stories.
Yeah, but I did notice with the lying thing that's like they're kind of the same in that way.
Oh, absolutely.
They're kind of the same person.
And it's like the one that sticks out to me is how Ron DeSantis kept saying the thing about the gas tax, which Nikki Haley absolutely like tried to raise, and she's like, nope, no, I did not. No, I didn't. Well, actually, I did try to raise it, but I said you had to cut income tax, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, it was a lying fest and lying allegation fest for sure. Moving on to more substantive things, though, the issues, as it were. Ron DeSantis had this pretty, and Nikki Haley agreed with him. They had these crazy answers on immigration. Jake Tapper asked them if they would allow any of the like 10 million undocumented immigrants to stay in the United States if they became president.
Yeah, they said, would you deport 100% of them?
Yeah, and Ron DeSantis said no amnesty. And Nikki Haley said they would all have to be deported.
Insane.
Which is wicked. Like, tax dollars down the drain. Yeah, I don't know how you're going to accomplish that.
I would say my favorite moment out of the immigration stuff is when Ron DeSantis pivoted to personally attack Nikki Haley because, I don't know, some years ago, she said, these immigrants aren't criminals, they're families.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that was worthy of attack.
Yeah, and then Jake Tapper like read her quote, and he was like, do you still stand by this? And she gave like a nothing answer.
Yeah, she's like, well, everyone should be deported. Militants across the border. Like, come on, bruh.
It's crazy that in this Republican Party, having a human or compassionate answer about your view towards immigrants is like a weight holding you back.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's
a
something
shackle.
worthy of attack. Oh my God.
They were asked about limited government. Specifically, Ron Desantis was asked about limited government in relation to what he's been doing with Disney. The question was something along the lines of, like, you say you're for limited government, yet you crack down on Disney. How do you square these two beliefs or these two actions?
This is good.
Which is good. Like, it was a very liberal question. I appreciate it.
It was a good question, but dare I say his answer was better?
It wasn't his answer something along the lines
His
of,
answer
like,
was,
government's gotta
the
protect kids.
primary function of government is to protect children. Sick.
Which, notably, not small government. Plus, all Disney did was, like, say, hey, that's bad. We're talking about the Don't Say Gay
that's
bill.
bad, and we want to represent gay people in media.
Yeah.
And Ron DeSantis said, no, they're transing, which I think is the first time we've heard transing in, like, a context like
debate,
this.
yeah.
Like, by, like, a political figure going out there. Disney is transing your kids, so that's cool. It's just like a verb that we're throwing out there now.
That seems like an important step forward that we should take note of.
Yeah.
Not important in a good way, of course. This led us into, like, the general trans section of the debate, and it was really a race to the bottom here. It was really bad. Both Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis had bad takes on, like, quote unquote woke companies. Ron DeSantis at one point came after Nikki Haley because there was a bathroom bill that didn't pass in South Carolina. Nikki Haley was like, it didn't pass then, but I would pass it now. 100% would pass the bathroom bill now.
Honestly, there were so many moments throughout this debate, whether it's Nikki Haley, I don't know, humanizing fucking immigrants, people seeking sanctuary here, and her not passing a bad bathroom bill that most people agree on is bad, where she is just being attacked for having the right opinion in the past, or like at least an opinion that is adjacent to the right one or grounded in actual morals and empathy.
Yeah, being
Just
slightly human.
Getting viciously attacked for them and saying, no, I don't stand for any of that anymore.
Yeah.
Nope, I would not. I would kill those immigrants myself.
Maybe this reveals a little bit of a schism between Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. I think Ron DeSantis 100% hates trans people.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think Nikki Haley views trans people favorably, but I think she's more like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because,
Yeah.
like, she didn't pass the bathroom bill. I don't know the politics around that, if she really had the chance to sign it into law. I'm sure she didn't veto it. But I think genuinely back then she was probably like, this isn't an issue. And she probably thinks now this isn't an issue, but, like, GOP voters think it is.
Yeah.
So that's probably why she didn't have, like, a holistic answer there. They talked about gender affirming care as well. It was really a competition of who can hate trans people the most. I don't know who won.
I don't either.
It's tough.
I don't either. It's ridiculous. You know, when you walk back on any good ground that you may have had before, maybe that's worse than just being bad. Maybe having the right opinion and then descending into the wrong one is worse than just having the bad one.
Yeah. It's like, is it good to be born good or become good through trials and tribulations?
It's the Parthenax.
Whatever
quote or
Parthenax
whatever.
said. Yeah. Keeping with some substantive issues, I want to zero in on what they said about Social Security for a second. It was really good.
Banger.
So every time there's a Republican debate, everybody on stage flounders when they're asked, what are we going to do with Social Security, right? Because secretly they want to raise the retirement age or just get rid of it entirely and get those lazy old people back to work, you know
Honestly,
what I'm saying?
dare I say, it's not even a secret anymore.
Yeah.
There's drama with Mike Johnson right now within, like, the fascists in the House.
Yeah.
Like, literally within the Freedom Caucus about how he's not cutting spending enough and he's too willing to cut deals with Democrats. They want critical programs like Social Security to be cut, and they are out about it.
Yeah, Republicans, every time they get a chance, will try to cut Social Security, and then publicly they'll say, no, we're not for that.
Yeah.
But they try to do it every single time. Same with, like, Medicare, Medicaid. But at this recent GOP debate, DeSantis was revealed to have voted for it in the past.
Three times.
100% true. He tried to raise the retirement age to 70. Nikki Haley directly now, in the year of 2024, will just say we should raise it for young people that are 20 right now.
It's like, let's pump the brakes on this. Did you see the demographics in polling and say we have so little young people voting for us? Specifically, what is it, the 18 to 34 demographic? that we can completely write them all off.
She said we got that demographic on lock right now.
Did she say that Vivek was right in entirely turning their backs on young people to vote for us? we are just not even we're not even going to acknowledge them. But when we do acknowledge them, we're going to strictly tell them we're going to do bad things for them.
Yeah.
Because she spent like minutes rambling about how, yeah, you know what, if you're 20 years old, life expectancy is going up. We will raise the retirement age. And Jake Tapper took a moment to be like, 15 seconds of clarification.
Wait, for real?
Are you actually saying that you would raise the retirement age for 20-year-olds? She said, yeah.
Yeah.
Brother.
Yeah, no, it's wicked. Maybe they're like, it's a sunk cost fallacy at this point. Like, we can't keep trying with young people.
I guess.
But here's the thing with Social Security, right? My entire life, I've been told Social Security is not going to be there when I'm older.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, because of this, like, this is some major policy issue, a major economic issue that is just really complicated and we can't solve it. The answer is simple. You got to tax rich people more. And if you don't know, wages to fund Social Security, wages are taxed at 6.2%, up to somewhere around $170,000 of wages. After that, it's not taxed for Social Security.
Why are we not
raise the cap?
Taxing more? Why is there a cap?
Raise the cap.
I feel like it doesn't make sense for there to be a cap at 106.
Even better, make it progressive.
Exactly.
The more in wages you have, the more that bracket of wages is taxed for Social Security purposes.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds like it makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, but instead, the only way we can save the program is if we make people work longer and we cut the amount that they get when they're older, and maybe we should just work them forever at this point. I don't know.
We honestly, the people who are most significantly burdened by the cut that Social Security goes out of their paycheck, we should make it harder for them.
Yeah.
And we should just take it away.
It is only a problem for conservatives that people are living too long at this point. Like, that's legitimately their policy issues. Like, people just live too long. We keep giving them this money. They're lazy.
They said raise the retirement age to 70. Brother, the average life expectancy for a male in the United States, 72 or 3. That's crazy.
You get 3 years off. 3 years off, and then that's it.
You work your whole life.
Yeah. The crazy part is that their justification, and this is what Ron Desantis has been caught on video saying.
Yes.
Is he's like, the original idea for Social Security, when Social Security was created, the retirement age was above what average life expectancy was, right? So the likelihood of someone actually getting there and being able to seize those Social Security benefits was fairly low, and the government wasn't spending too much money. Now people live far beyond the retirement age, so we have to spend all of this money. Like, that's the reasoning for it. But it's like, dog. Maybe people are living longer because they got Social Security benefits to live on.
Maybe they can afford to live. Yeah. Maybe they can afford to pay for, I don't know, healthcare, food, housing, don't have to burden other people.
It's like, hang on a minute. Even if that's not the case, even if statistically got nothing to do with it, shouldn't we be happy people are living longer?
That's what I'm saying.
And it's like, even if people are living longer, does that mean the body has the capacity to work longer? I don't think so. Like, what do we do? We should be happy that people can live longer and let them have more time off away from working. They've already contributed to society by the time they're 66 or 68 or whatever.
Oh, you've destroyed your body over the course of your life working in a shop, working at GM, building cars for GM.
Yeah.
Actually, you're gonna have to do that a little longer. You're gonna have to bend over and start machining these parts. Like, I don't know, 5 extra years if you're 20, and I'm gonna come out and say that. Like, that would be like political suicide years ago. I don't know how it's become so normalized.
And the way that Nikki Haley, at least Nikki Haley, but I'm going to guess Ron believes the same thing. But the way, because he's voted for it.
Yeah.
The way Nikki Haley gets around it now is that instead of going after people's benefits now, like the older voting bloc that votes for Republicans, she's going after young people, assuming, I'm guessing, that these old people that vote for her or might vote for her hate the young people that she would be punishing with raising their retirement
that they're
age.
just going to carry her to the second place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just, absolute amazing political strategy right here.
Great, even, yeah.
So good. Oh my God, man. I just heard that. I was flabbergasted the whole time.
Yeah, Jake Tapper's like, hold up.
Jake Tapper tried to give her some leeway too, and she's like, no, this is what we're gonna do. If you are 20 years old, you are not retiring.
I gotta respect it. I mean, standing on business.
You know what? If we raise the retirement age so high that most 20-year-olds don't ever get there, then we don't really have to worry about this Social Security conversation because they can never collect.
It'll be solving forever.
They'll never be able to collect.
It won't be a problem. My last major takeaway here is that throughout this most recent GOP debate, Nikki Haley, she kept referencing that her team made the website that you mentioned called DeSantisLies.com as a way of combating lies and about Nikki Haley and combating the lies that Ron DeSantis spreads, which is like, cool, okay, I support the smoke.
Yeah.
Go crazy. Good. I'm in full favor of there being a website with information about Meatball Ron, about how awful he is and how much he lies. Why are you not doing this to Donald Trump?
I'm saying,
like, this, Donald Trump's your real competition. Like, a lot of people at this point are saying Nikki Haley's going to come in second place to Donald Trump in a lot of these states. If you want any chance, or if you want to at least delude yourself into thinking that you have a chance at all, why are you not making a TrumpLies.com?
And it's like, she mentioned that too. She mentioned to Ron, she said, you're not my competition, Donald Trump.
Yes.
Why are we acting like it?
Yeah, like
what are we doing?
this just perfectly encapsulates everything that this GOP primary is about. It's nothing but Trump's to lose, and nobody's actually trying to beat Donald Trump. Like if you were serious about it, or if you were delusional enough to think you could actually win and not just win second place, then you would create a TrumpLies.com. But instead, you're focused on Ron DeSantis, who isn't really your competition anymore.
Yeah.
Like if we want to be like, maybe he's taking some voters that could go to you, but if you actually want a chance or a reason to stay in this race, why are you not going after Trump? And it just reveals that you're unserious. You don't actually care. You're playing it up for 2028.
And it's also like, a lot of people have been saying, okay, maybe they're just waiting for Trump to go to prison so that they can take the spotlight away. Vivek's the guy that's been actually occupying that lane. He's the only one that's actually gone out there and like not criticized Trump, or at least hung around Trump enough to like be the second guy. You know what I mean? It's not Ron. It's not Haley. Ron's been too wishy-washy with both sides, and Haley's just kind of
Not even to mention like banger political strategy right there.
Oh my God, I'm
just banging on him going to jail to win. And that like Ron DeSantis, there was a leaked document a while ago that's like DeSantis's, or at least some previous version of his campaign's stated goal is like, we're just going to wait till Donald Trump gets taken away. Or he can't run anymore.
He's made himself like so unlikable in that sense. Like he's just so bad. Another banger that I thought that Nikki was kind of railing him on this whole time was how his campaign has spent $150 million.
That's crazy.
Just down the drain. She said he spent more on private jets than on commercials. That's fucking nuts, dude.
You don't got to do that, man.
Oh my God. I knew the campaign was like, I knew his campaign was fumbling. I knew it was a revolving door. People were going out. People were getting fired. I knew they were having money troubles. I didn't know it was this bad.
Money troubles and Nazi troubles too.
Is this a money laundering operation? Oh my God.
I mean, you could say that every campaign is.
That's true. That's true.
These political consultants just making a killing off of candidates that lose in the end.
That's what we need to get into. Fuck the podcast.
Get into consulting and just pay ourselves a fuckload off of the campaign.
My God. Get into speaking. We need speaking deals like all these politicians get. We can just show up to, I don't know, like Stanford or something. I charge $50,000 an hour. That's what like Bush does. My God.
Isn't that what Michelle Obama does?
I think so. That's what literally they all do.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And look,
bullshit.
I don't support it now, but if I could do it, good practice.
Come on,
good moral practice. Yeah, what
for sure. And also lower my taxes.
Who won?
Probably Nikki.
You think
I don't
Nikki
know.
Haley
I
won?
think so. I feel like she was able to hit him on more like substantive things. Maybe it's my bias because I'm not a conservative and I don't agree with them ideologically. So maybe the attacks against Nikki Haley humanizing immigrants just weren't doing it for me like they would a conservative.
Yeah.
But I feel like she did better.
Yeah, it was hard for me to tell because they both had like some good moments where you could say they landed solid hits, but like Ron DeSantis is just so unlikable to me.
He is. I think this debate was probably his best performance, save maybe the last one. I can't really remember the last one too well, or whatever one Vivek was still in.
Yeah.
But
I think that was the last one.
I feel like this felt like the most normal debate.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I could see that. Did you see the thing about Ron DeSantis? Like, did you catch when he said ballistic podiatry?
Dude,
shooting yourself in the foot? That's corny.
That shit was fucking hilarious because there's one guy in the crowd that was like, woo! Woo!
Or did you catch the other thing? And this is like so 2012 coded. When he was, he called out Nikki Haley for, he was like, I don't think Iowa voters are dumb or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's from a comment Nikki Haley was doing an event in New Hampshire where she was like, New Hampshire's going to have to bail us out for whatever choice Iowa makes or something like that. Clearly making a joke that's like, if Iowa doesn't go with me, New Hampshire's going to save me. Like, that's the joke. The fact that could be controversial in Ron DeSantis' mind is very like 2012 politics
That's
coded.
insane.
Like that is a bygone era, dog. Nobody cares.
If we're taking a trip in the time machine back to politics of previous eras, I would say maybe one of my favorite moments of the debate was when very 2016 or maybe very 2020, somewhere within that Trump era. You know what I mean? When Ron DeSantis, I think it was in his opening statement, said that he cited Nikki Haley saying that Hillary Clinton was one of her main inspirations for like getting into politics. I thought that was sick. I feel like creating that association is just so good.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Well, especially because like Republicans misogynistic, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Already.
Two women, that they're going to make that association.
Double
so
trouble.
Quick. Yeah.
Double. And Hillary Clinton, of all women, oh my God. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they're still not talking about the emails.
Yeah. Anyway, Iowa caucuses will happen tomorrow for us before this episode airs for all of you on Wednesday. So we don't have the results right now. We can't yap about what's going on. But we'll be posting about it. We'll talk about it on Thursday at the live stream. If you want to come out?
Oh my gosh, yes we will. I'm sticking to my Dickies from last week.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sticking to them. What was it? Ron at like 13,
Somewhere
16,
in there, yeah.
something like that. Trump at like, what did we say?
Like
did we say
53?
54,
Somewhere in there,
55? Yeah.
Trump also held a town hall in opposition to the debate, a protest town hall, I guess you could say.
Nice.
Pretty irrelevant. I didn't watch a ton of it, just saw clips, nothing notable that I found.
There was no good clips, not a single one.
There might have been had I watched all of it, but it's like, I'm not going to do that.
That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
When I was trying to look for a video that wasn't Brian Tyler Cohen's stream about it, I had found a full video of Trump's town hall, and I was like, fuck, man, what's going on?
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah. Chris Christie dropped out, as we mentioned.
Oh, no.
That's some other election news. I know, I shut up.
Fuck, man.
Well, and like, why did Chris Christie drop out? I thought his whole idea was going after smoke, going after Donald Trump, and not caring what people thought about him. And then you're not going to win Iowa, so you drop out?
Because, like, why stay this long just to drop out?
Because he qualified for this next debate and the Iowa debate. He would have been on the stage had he not dropped out.
He qualified and Vivek didn't.
He could have used the platform.
Chris Christie was polling higher than Vivek.
Yes. He could have, at least on some qualifying polls, he got to like 10% or something.
Okay.
Chris Christie could have gotten on that stage a few more times to dog on Donald Trump. That's how I know he's unserious. He's not about it like I'm about it.
This is like what got to him?
Yeah.
Literally, what got to him? Oh my God, what a loser!
Like if you're running in his position, you know you're not going to win. Mm-hmm. And your goal should just be to hate on Donald Trump and get somebody else elected. But instead, he drops out.
Maybe after white knighting for Nikki so hard, he decided I can't do this again. I can't get out there and show my face. Maybe the embarrassment finally caught up for him.
He just couldn't do it anymore. Well, or maybe he got that MSNBC job. He's been auditioning for.
True. Everyone knows 2024. It's an election year, right? You know what else is an immutable fact? Wednesday weenies always lose to the weekly news cycle.
You're always behind.
This is even more undeniable in 2024. These primary Iowa caucus happening on a Monday. Mm-hmm. Super Tuesday, that's in the name. Yep. Wednesday weenie, again in the name. If you want to get ahead of the news cycle, you need to head on over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod.
Listen, if you want the news when it happens rather than after it happens, consider becoming a patron. It's a good way to support the show, and it's a good way to stay up to date on everything this year as we deal with this tumultuous election season together.
Wear that Head in the Office patron badge on your sleeve. You can run around always. I'm a patron on Head in the Office. I get the news when it happens.
Back to the episode. Well, we talked about a debate on the right. You want to talk about a leftist debate?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know how I love those.
So we got some war news to cover up next, this time involving some new actors on the geopolitical stage, specifically.
Welcome to the #1 war podcast.
Yeah, we're talking about war. We got a new challenger approaching. We're talking about Israel and Gaza, but also Yemen. You might have heard about this. And before we get into this, we'll have to cover a little bit of the history. Then we'll talk about exactly what happened and then some of the arguments from the left and the right. This is going to take a little bit of nuance, so stay with us. This is also something I kind of dread talking about because a lot of people have a lot of bad takes, either in the way that they've interpreted what's happened or the way that they present what's happened to their audience. It's bad, people.
It's in a similar vein. I think it's like, I don't think it's overall worse, but I think it occupies a similar vein and it goes a bit further. As when October 7th first happened and a lot of leftists were coming out in support of Hamas as revolutionaries.
Yes, it's similar.
I think it's similar to that.
Yeah, so a little bit of history first. In 2014, the Houthis, which are a sort of militant organization, a parallel government within Yemen at this point, they led an insurgency in Yemen to oust the Saudi-backed government for a variety of issues, that some of them being legitimate issues, like with how government was run. This plunged Yemen into a sort of civil war, which it really wasn't a civil war, but that's kind of what it's labeled, where the Houthis were fighting semi-Yemeni and semi-Saudi forces. So it was kind of like a proxy war for Saudi.
Yeah.
And for the Houthis, they were trying to claim the country as their own. The United States, of course, being in their infinite wisdom, supported Saudi Arabia, as we always do in this conflict. And it was really bloody. Saudi Arabia killed a ton of civilians in the process. It is not a good conflict by any stretch of the imagination.
Not a good thing to put our dollars and weapons behind.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. From what I understand, the Houthis had and still have some real grievances, specifically in relation to Saudi Arabia and the people that previously ran the country. But they, similar to Hamas, are a very anti-Semitic organization. Mm-hmm. Their slogan is, and I'm quoting this from, I believe, their flag.
Nice.
And it's translated from Arabic to English. It says on their flag, "God is the greatest, death to America, death to Israel. A curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam. You could probably pick out one of those phrases that
one of those should light some flags in your head, some red ones maybe.
Obviously, they got a reason to be mad at America. The reason to be mad at Israel, of course, for what both of these countries have done. But anti-Semitism, I don't rock with that.
Not at all.
Like me personally,
not at all.
I don't rock with that. There's a ton of complicated history here, though, with the Houthis in Yemen that we won't go over right now.
And it's like the Houthis as a group are like Hamas in that I think they're a bad organization.
Yes.
I think they're a terrorist organization. I don't think they govern very well.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand the sociological machinations that led to them taking power in the region.
Yeah.
Especially considering the awful, abhorrent shit that the Saudis were doing with the backing of the United States to Yemeni civilians.
Well, yeah, and you can understand why the Houthis' general disposition here is against the West and the United States.
Yeah.
Right, because it's just like it's the material dialectics of how all of this always works out anytime the U.S. is involved, specifically in Middle Eastern conflicts. The U.S. gets involved or by proxy gets involved. It leads to instability and death and, the destruction of families and villages and such. People are radicalized against the West because of what we did, and then terrorism happens, right?
Yeah.
And that's not an endorsement of what these groups do. That's not to say that these groups have a sort of right to respond in a way that's terrorism, but we do understand why the U.S. is at fault and why those groups hate the United States. And that's an important bit that you have to keep in mind about the Houthis here. Now, the fighting between the Houthis and Saudi-backed forces have stopped for the most part. The civil war is mostly over under a very fragile ceasefire that is generally new, but the Houthis at this point control basically all of Yemen. They're functionally in control of Yemen, and specifically in control of the region that we're going to talk about in regards to the Red Sea, which is why all of this matters today. So let's get into the current news.
All right.
And then we can dissect some arguments. So since November, the Houthis have been launching attacks on ships in the Red Sea. I promise this has to do something with Israel and Gaza. By the way, we're going to get to it. They've been launching attacks on ships in the Red Sea, which is a range of water southeast of the Suez Canal. Very, very important for international trade. I think it's like something like 30% of all ships go through the Suez Canal. The Red Sea is connected to the Suez Canal, so very important.
Yeah, you remember the Suez Canal got blocked and big ship went sideways. And everybody was fucking freaking out. It was like the global economy lost like X billions of dollars per like hour or something.
It was kind of cool.
It was crazy.
It was really funny.
And then they dug it out. That was nuts.
Yeah, that's that Suez Canal, the same one, the infamous one. The Houthis haven't just been attacking military ships, though. They've been attacking commercial and merchant vessels as well, which is a big part of this. From Al Jazeera, the
Hasn't
Houthis...
it been mostly commercial and merchant vessels?
Yeah. From Al Jazeera, the Houthis say, quote, their attacks are a response to Israel's bombardment of Gaza and the international community's failure to put an end to it. Now, is this the truth is kind of the operant question here. We're going to get to like dissecting this in a moment. But importantly, as we just said, they're attacking commercial vessels also. And those commercial vessels, a lot of them are not directly linked to Israel or even indirectly linked to Israel in any way, which to me leads to a potential or perhaps even likelihood that it's just kind of piracy with the pretext.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Importantly, and I shouldn't have to say this, but a lot of leftists have been kind of perpetuating this lie. This isn't a blockade.
No, not at all. They are not taking ships. They are not physically stopping movement through.
Yeah.
They are launching missiles from Yemen.
Often missing.
At these ships.
Often missing.
And
I don't think...
Not for lack of trying, though.
Yeah, I don't think as a result of these attacks, anyone's died. I don't think the Houthis have killed anybody just yet. But they are attacking ships. I think they stole a ship, didn't they?
Yeah, they hijacked something. They've attempted to hijack other ships and had not had it work out for them.
Which is like, that's its own thing to debate about. But it's not a blockade. Like that, we need to be clear about exactly what this is. They're not doing a blockade in support of Palestine. They are attacking ships that are going through the Red Sea.
Yeah.
So just so we're clear about that. The reason this is big news, though, isn't just because piracy could be happening, but it's also because Joe Biden has responded as of January 14th with multiple launched military attacks that using aircraft have hit around 60 targets in cooperation with the United Kingdom military. This was called Operation Prosperity Guardian, which is corny.
Who the fuck comes up with these names?
The fucking State Department is so corny.
Oh my God.
Fucking Operation Pinkerton Detective Agency, Operation Capitalism. Like, what are we talking about?
Bruh. Hire an English major or something. Oh my God.
U.S. military officials, just so you can get a sense of scope, say it involved more than 150 precision and Tomahawk missiles. That's from the Associated Press. There hasn't been any civilian casualties as a result of U.S. attacks on military installations, airfields, that sort of thing. But I think like 5 Houthis have died in response to this.
I think
as a result,
4 Houthis died and 6 were injured.
something like that.
Something like that. Low numbers.
Yeah.
They strictly attacked like ammo depots, military targets, places they can launch missiles at.
Yeah, no, it's just infrastructure and things used to launch attacks against ships, right?
Yeah.
And unlike Israel, the United States can actually be precise with attacks, which, like, of course, it's military action, and we're going to be skeptical of that by default. But at least it's not just dumb bombs on like a city, like Israel.
They're not
is
just
doing,
bombing Yemen, like some leftists want to say. Some very big, prominent, dare I say, the biggest leftist, got on and said.
Now, Democrats and Republicans have called Biden's actions out of line or even unconstitutional by what's allotted by the Constitution and the power of the presidency. And I suppose that kind of leads us into the first set of arguments that we have to contend with here. So the first one, and I think it's the easiest, is this within Joe Biden's power to do as president? And I think it is, based on what I know. Now, does that mean it's morally correct to do?
No.
That's a different conversation to have, which we can talk about in a minute. But the War Powers Act dictates that the president can launch attacks insofar as Congress is notified within 48 hours, which they were. It also requires the president to withdraw forces after 60 days if there's no declaration of war from Congress. It hasn't been 60 days. Maybe it shouldn't be the law, but that's what it is. Maybe somebody that's more knowledgeable on the Constitution and statutes and stuff can correct us. But to my knowledge, it seems like he's within the legal boundaries. But again, that doesn't mean it's moral. It's just saying he has the power to do this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not a controversial thing to say. Now, the second more interesting conversation, which involves some leftists online, are the Houthis justified in attacking these vessels?
No. I'm sorry, but what is attacking civilian merchant ships that are doing international trade in international waters going to do for the people of Gaza? I don't think you can really attack civilians out of protest.
Yeah.
They aren't. If they were doing a blockade, it'd be different.
Yeah.
If they were doing a blockade, there'd actually be a point to it. There'd actually be like a goal set. Like, hey, we're gonna block the Red Sea. We're gonna block trade from coming through here until Israel stops its genocide and apartheid. You know what? Then I could get behind it.
Yeah, no,
then
for
I think
sure.
it would be righteous and moral. But that's not what they're doing. They are just, I don't know if they're discriminately launching missiles at civilians. And I think that's fucked up no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, to me, my take here is that the Houthis are probably using the genocide in Gaza as a pretext to attack and commandeer and do piracy against ships, because the support for Gaza rallies, participation and support from their own population, right? Like, apparently they've seen an uptick in recruitment since attacks began in the name of Gaza. So, doing attacks on ships, and they've received some more recruitment numbers. They've seen more support from their population, and it could just be that they need a reason to do piracy, and they can use this as a pretext to do it.
That's
what
like
it seems like to me.
They're just opportunists.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand what they could possibly gain out of this. There's no like actual demands.
And it seems to me similar to how Hamas can use the horrible conditions of Gaza to do terrorism, right?
Yeah, to do October 7th.
Yeah. And it's not that Hamas is justified in that they're like a liberatory force or anything like that, but it's that we can understand, because of the material conditions, why they're doing what they're doing. But it doesn't mean they're justified in doing what they're doing. It's a sort of explanation, right? And even if some of them, half of them really do support Gaza, as you said, it's unclear how attacking commercial ships not linked to Israel is helpful at all.
And it's like,
dare I say it's not helpful?
Civilian ships.
Yeah.
If anything, this is just sullying the name of the plight that the people in Gaza are going through right now. It's honestly, it's the same thing as opportunists during, say, like a BLM protest, say a rowdy BLM protest, even going and looting stores under like the guise of, like yada yada yada, this is going on. Police brutality. I'm gonna loot stores. It's people who are taking these movements and seeing what's happening and using it as an opportunity to get up for themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
It's silly. It's silly to say otherwise.
Yeah, and nonetheless, and this has been, I guess it shouldn't be surprising to me at this point, given everything that's happened the past 4 months or so. But a lot of leftists online have sort of uncritically flocked to support what the Houthis are doing in response to what Joe Biden did with the military attack. They're not doing this in the name of anti-capitalism.
No.
It's unclear if they're even doing this in the name of a free Palestine. It just seems like they're, again, using this as a pretext to launch attacks and do something that they were going to do anyways, but needed a reason for it.
So many people coming out and saying, "Oh, you're just a cuck for global capital if you think that it was okay for Joe Biden to go strike them. If you don't think it's fine what's happening." It's like, I don't know, dog. Even in the socialist utopia, we're still gonna have ships. We're still going to have international trade in maritime waters.
Yeah, and I think the important take or the best take that I can think of here is that like the Houthis are obviously wrong to attack civilian vessels, merchant vessels, but this wouldn't be happening, or at the very least, they wouldn't have a pretext to do it if Israel wasn't doing a genocide that the United States is complicit in.
Yeah.
I think that's the better position to take because, as you said, even in the perfect communist utopia, we got to have waters that aren't riddled with pirates.
We got to have trade.
Like, the
free
fact,
trade.
Other people have already made this point, but the fact that we live in a time where like piracy isn't really a problem is kind of a miracle.
Like free movement and free trade is kind of very important for things to fuck. We live, whether you like it or not, we live in a globalized society.
Yeah, nothing you can do.
That involves trade. That involves boats in the water.
Yeah. Big ones that block the Suez Canal.
Exactly. Yeah, sometimes they do.
Now, the final question here is the United States justified in military action? So I just want to start this by saying I'm going to be de facto skeptical of basically all U.S. military action, just because the history with Latin America and how we've done coups and funded revolutions, or I guess counter-revolutionary forces, and how we've done all kinds of things to disrupt and make countries unstable and kill people and help genocides and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be skeptical, and I was immediately when I saw this news.
And it's like, I totally understand being skeptical of U.S. action just because of all the things that you've mentioned, but also you can't stop at just that skepticism.
Yeah.
You got to keep going a little bit. You got to actually look at things.
Yeah, and reasonably, though, so we have the skepticism. Reasonably, though, if you are not only interrupting commercial trade, but doing so through attacking commercial vessels, you can expect that some nation, if not the United States, is going to hit you with an airstrike.
And it's also, yes, no civilians were killed in these strikes. Not for lack of trying, though.
Yeah.
Not for lack of trying.
And it's important to note that it's not just like the United States being the world police officer here. A lot of nations were on board with what the U.S. did, right?
Yeah.
The U.S. obviously has the military capacity to do something like this. But the United Kingdom did this in concert with the United States. And there was like 20 other nations that were in agreement that this is something that had to happen.
The Security Council was cool with it.
Yeah.
If that matters to you. China and Russia were cool with it.
China and Russia didn't try to stop it. And I'm going to guess they were in support of it, just didn't want their names on the official documents. Yeah. You know what I mean? You could argue, and like I'm sympathetic to the argument that this is partially in defense of global capitalism because it protects the accumulation of profit and in trade continuing that, drives up profit margins for billionaires and capitalists. Like, of course, that's true.
Yeah, but it's also like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, again, we live in a globalized society. Like, this free trade is essential to go on. This can't just happen.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is like overseas trade is going to have to happen in any system. So it's like, of course, there's going to be a military response. And ultimately, that's why I believe it's not like this. There are a lot of examples of the United States applying their military in very harmful, very bad ways. I'm sure you could find examples of the U.S. doing piracy, right? But that doesn't mean that everything the United States military does is necessarily bad. And this is why I think having America bad as a sort of first principle or axiom that guides your actions or takes leads you astray. Yeah, because you end up supporting people or being aligned with people that don't really support what you support. You're just kind of It just feels a little intellectually lazy to have America bad as like your first principle.
It's reactionary.
Like you can't define yourself in opposition to America literally all the time. There's some things that America does, like supporting Ukraine, for example, that is good, that's beneficial, or that I guess in the range of possibilities delivers the least bad outcome. And like if you're just attacking merchant vessels, like your military outposts are going to get hit with airstrikes.
I was gonna say,
it's just going to happen.
It's dare I say it is right to stop the organization who is throwing missiles at just civilian ships. It is right to remove their capacity to throw those missiles at civilian merchant ships. I feel like that shouldn't be a hot take.
Yeah, no, I feel like it shouldn't either. There is an interesting hypocrisy that you could point out if you wanted to, that we are so quick to stop halted trade or to attack those that are halting trade, but do really nothing to help people in Gaza as they, are starved and can't get access to what they need. I think that's a fair critique. You can point out the hypocrisy of the United States doing piracy than stopping piracy. I think that's fair as well. But that doesn't mean that the piracy that the Houthis were trying to do is right and should continue, or that it was in service of a free Palestine. I think that's silly. It's intellectually lazy, and that leftists are just getting baited by propaganda.
And it's you can't say that, okay, because the U.S. U.S. has done bad things. It's similar to this. Maybe the scenario is almost the same. They've done bad things in the past like this. You can't use that to say that this is automatically bad, that this was automatically just an awful thing, that this is like, it's wild to me. And to the point about propaganda, it's like, I gotta say, like on Hassan's stream, when he is just uncritically showing Yemeni Houthi propaganda, he is literally taking the spokesperson for the Houthi armed forces and just publicizing his message, letting him yap on his stream to 33,000 people.
Yeah, that was crazy to me.
Oh my God. And then pulling up a Twitter where some guy, again, in the Houthi government is JQ posting.
Yeah.
We're just going to glance by. We're just going to glance over that.
Yeah, and that's on top. Like we've just talked about the justification for military action and all of that, but there is also just like the anti-Semitism. Left is not going to beat the anti-Semitism allegations if we align with these people.
Oh my God, I know.
And that's beyond the fact that the Houthis do all kinds of other immoral things. I just felt it kind of irrelevant to bring up because I don't need to mention that as a way of, I suppose, debunking what the Houthis were trying to do and how it was seemingly a moral evil for the United States to respond. But they do, I think they still have like some kind of institutional or institutionally ingrained slavery. And they have like child marriages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But of course, to me, I didn't bring this up because it feels like when conservatives say, oh, you support Palestine, but you're gay, they would kill you.
Exactly.
That's what it feels like to me. Like, I don't need to say this to make my point. It just seems to me that at a base level, all the Houthis were doing is using Gaza as a pretext to do what they were always going to do. And of course, the U.S. military responds because everyone in the world relies on free trade, 30% of it through the Red Sea.
Yeah, and it's also just like terrorist does terrorism.
Yeah. And it's like what I mentioned in the beginning, right? Like we go into Middle Eastern countries or when we're involved in some way, we cause instability and then they hate us and do stuff against us or do stuff against American interests. That's a process that we can completely understand without then turning and supporting what the Houthis are doing. The terrorism itself can be bad while also recognizing that the source of the problem here is the United States, and specifically here, the United States supporting Israel and their genocide. Like, I think the real leftist take here is that, yeah, the Houthis can't be allowed to do this kind of thing, but at base, the United States is responsible for fostering the conditions that allow for this to happen.
Immaculate analysis.
And I can do that without having Houthi propaganda on the show.
I'm saying.
Now, let me run a clip of the Houthi prime minister or whatever.
Let me run a literal Houthi military spokesperson right now. Like, come on, dude. Really?
Outside of all of those arguments, there is a potential for broader regional escalation here. Not only because the Yemeni civil war could kick off again to some capacity, maybe Saudi Arabia starts bombing Yemen again, but also because I think the United States a few days ago, back at the beginning of January, hit a couple of targets in Baghdad, which is significant because that usually doesn't happen. Yeah. Baghdad is a major city in Iran. Like, we don't usually do that to Baghdad. So potential for broader regional escalation, all in the pretext or I guess in the shadow of what's happening in Gaza. Maybe. I don't think World War III is going to happen, but any conflict kind of inflaming here would be bad.
There has also been like smaller little escalations going on. I don't know if it's Hezbollah or the Houthis or one of the organizations in the region have been hitting different military bases that the U.S. has, again, in the region that we probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the U.S. has responded to those attacks by hitting back. That's been a little bit of escalation going on. There's some sparks.
Yeah, and I'm totally open to the argument that, like, the United States right now could be engaging in some military acts that are probably irresponsible and making regional escalation a lot more likely. You could totally make that argument. And I would be open to it. I don't know the specifics enough to refute that argument at the moment. And I think regional escalation could happen. And that's scary, right? We don't want another war on top of what Israel's already doing to Gaza.
Bad.
Yeah. Real bad. We could, we'll see what happens there. But ultimately, as I said, it seems like right now all roads lead back to the genocide in Gaza. And if the United States had acted differently, if we weren't being openly complicit in what Israel is doing, we wouldn't even be having a conversation about regional escalation because then no one would have the pretext to do anything. And even if they would go on to do it, they'd have to find some other pretext, and we could kind of, at the very least, absolve ourselves from the sort of material responsibility of what's happening.
And it's just another example on how our support for Israel's genocide is just backfiring on us. Not only at home with Joe Biden's just tanking approval rating, tanking just support amongst his own base, but also abroad. When we see that all of these terrorist organizations, all of these whatever organizations are ramping up their rhetoric against us, being able to galvanize more people against the United States, blatantly attacking the United States' bases in the region, getting us to attack back. Like it all goes back to our support of Israel here.
Yeah, and I can, Iran's often decried as like the largest sponsor of terrorism against the U.S. in the world, right? And that might be the case, but I can see the logic when Iran goes to some radical organization is like, we're going to fund you to do this against the U.S. because the U.S. does all kind of horrible shit.
Exactly.
Like all roads lead back to the United States being awful and sort of geopolitically dominant. But again, that doesn't mean that the terrorism that comes out of these sort of transactions is in any way morally justified. And it certainly doesn't mean that the Houthis were justified in just attacking merchant vessels and that they could have reasonably expected to not be attacked in return.
It's borderline the same analysis as I understand why Hamas exists.
It is,
I understand why Israel's apartheid and oppression created the conditions that caused Hamas to form. And while also recognizing that the October 7th attack was bad.
Yeah, it's just, I guess this worried me a bit more because I saw even more leftists just straight up saying like, yeah, I'm on the side of the Houthis here. Like the Houthis are standing with us for Palestine.
Yeah, just unequivocally.
I feel like I saw more of that than I saw with Hamas.
Most definitely. Well, that's because rhetoric is ramped up so much.
Yeah.
Like public support for Gaza is going up, which is a good thing. Public support for the people of Palestine has gone up. A lot of people don't fuck with what Israel's doing. Thank God. You know what I'm saying? But it feels like some of that momentum is being built in the wrong way by bad actors.
Yeah, and you can't, like, my plea to leftists is just that, like, stop supporting any group or a group's actions that are opposed to the guys you hate. You know what I mean? Like that should not be how you decide who you're going to support geopolitically. Support people with the good positions, groups with good positions, not just ones that are responding to material conditions created by the United States empire. Your analysis has got to be deeper than that. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, it feels LARPy to me. Like, what are we even talking about? It's bad.
What do you believe?
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, what do you believe?
Yeah. Anyway, I think we can move on from that.
I think so.
And talk about Ohio.
Bringing back a domestic
stateside
politics. Going stateside for a moment.
We're coming back to the States. I was just out of the country, but we're coming back to domestic politics.
Went abroad for a little. I was on sabbatical.
Yeah, we have a brief follow-up story in Ohio.
Okay.
Bad.
2 follow-up stories in Ohio.
Do we have 2? You have one from
I got
Ohio
one.
as well?
I got one. It's not in the notes, though.
Okay. We got 2 follow-up stories from Ohio. This first one is a follow-up on a story that we covered a few weeks back having to do with that anti-trans law, really bad anti-trans law that came out of Ohio. So recently, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, a Republican, vetoed a bill that would ban gender-affirming care for minors in the state and ban trans youth from participating in sports that align with their gender identity. Good move, right? Republican vetoed the bill. Happy to see it.
Pretty great. Glad to see someone, a Republican of all people, making the right choice.
Yeah, surprising.
Hard these days.
Broken clock and all that.
Really hard.
So just last week, as a follow-up on this story, the Ohio House of Representatives reconvened and voted to overturn that veto. So they could put the measures into place. That was a successful vote. They got however many votes they needed to overturn that veto.
Nice.
Now they're waiting on the Ohio Senate to vote later this month. Just a reminder for those unaware, gender transition surgeries in Ohio don't happen for anyone under 18. Straight up 0.
Just don't.
No cases.
There's probably less than 10 trans girls competing in sports.
Yes,
in Ohio.
There's less than 10 trans athletes in the state of Ohio. It's a non-issue. But before praising Mike DeWine, as a sort of ally and hero of the left, he announced an executive order that bans gender reincitement surgery for minors under emergency powers. Again, a thing that it doesn't happen.
Oh, okay.
But he did an executive order for that.
Virtue signaled the bill.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then he also announced, and this is potentially more harmful, because under the executive order that he issued, he was saying, like, I just want to take the issue off the table, which I almost understand, but it's like, stand on business, dog. You said it's not an issue.
I just want to take the issue off the table. I don't know. The issue here at hand is kind of people's lives.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't think these are really games to be played with.
Yeah, exactly. So he issued that executive order that bans gender reassignment surgery for minors. This is under emergency power, so it's only going to last like 120 days or something. But he did that, which is not great.
Word, nice.
And then he announced a new set of rules to undergo public comment before implementation. This is the process that Ohio uses to actually get executive orders into like cemented as what would be treated as law. The first one is a requirement that healthcare providers report all data on, quote, gender-related conditions to the state within 30 days of diagnosis with no identities attached
All right.
list.
I was gonna say he went to the Ken Paxton school
Yeah.
of, I don't know, rounding up all the trans people in the state. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can't really call it a list because there's no names attached, but it's like, why?
But like, why else would you need this data? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
You can already find this kind of information too.
who are we signing to? With
Why are
this?
you reporting to the
He
state?
said, "I know. I just want to know if it's happening," which it isn't.
Yeah. There's also a requirement that healthcare providers provide, or the healthcare providers staff a psychiatrist and an endocrinologist, and to submit a detailed plan of action for patients seeking to detransition for approval by a medical ethicist as a prerequisite for treating patients. This, to me, comes across as like we want more checks and balances, but also just makes the process of administering gender-affirming care a lot more cumbersome and expensive, which comes across as just like I want to make this harder to give to patients.
Which it's crazy because again, these are things that already happen.
Yeah.
These are things that already happen. Endocrinologists already consult.
Yeah.
You know, you sometimes
But
already
he's-
talk to a psychiatrist. You know, you think about things real hard before you do them.
The thing here, though, is that he's requiring them to either be on staff or contracted, right? So, like, they have to be paid and they have to be kept around
Just
for you
on
to give
reserves.
gender-affirming care, yeah. So it's just going to
Okay.
cost even more to do it.
Instead of referring out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And then the last thing, and I think this is the most alarming piece of this executive order, is that it would require all patients under 21 to undergo 6 months of counseling. 6 months of counseling before initiating gender-affirming care. Importantly, therapy and counseling is already a part of gender-affirming care.
Yeah.
This just makes it so it takes even longer for you to get the care that you
And
need.
more expensive.
More expensive,
Much
yes.
more expensive.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so you're making them do counseling before gender-affirming care. So this counseling itself isn't gender-affirming care. What are they saying? Like, no, I don't believe
And
you.
also, why is it under 21?
Yeah.
I can sell my body to the United States military so I can go get blown up somewhere, but I can't, I don't know, grow tits.
Do whatever I want.
Yeah, I'm saying. Like, I can't take hormones.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre to me, but Mike DeWine, I would say, not a hero of the left. You should not praise him as that anytime soon. So to summarize what's happening in Ohio here, they might still pass the anti-trans bill, by the way. Kind of waiting in the wings for the
Wow,
Senate to do something
alrighty.
with it by Republicans. And even if they don't, Mike DeWine is still doing these kind of far-reaching anti-trans executive orders that just makes getting gender-affirming care even harder.
That's crazy. He had a brief moment there.
Yeah.
He had a brief moment there where I was proud. I was excited. I was proud to be right above Ohio.
The article I was reading stated that this, if all of this goes into effect, as I just detailed, it would bring Ohio pretty close to Florida in how actively anti-trans the laws are.
Wow, that was such a flash in the pan. in, I don't know, being decent.
A moment of hope. if you will.
A moment of a brief respite.
Yeah,
a rest
so-
at the bonfire.
That wraps up the little bit from Ohio that I had.
Burr, burr, burr. It's a bit chilly up here in the north, but I know we have a lot of viewers down south in the warmer climates, to say the least. And, you know, you might need some drip to walk around in this new year, 2024.
Exactly.
And, you know, if you need some, we got some. Head on over to headintheoffice.com to check out our wonderful merch drops. You got the Indictment collection, the Indictment Era collection. You can go on over and look at our previous drop. We got great t-shirts going on.
Great t-shirts. And if you don't even want something to wear, maybe you don't want to wear a t-shirt, you can get a hat to put on your head.
Little cap.
That's important to
rock
keep the
that
sun
in the
out of
north
your
in
eyes.
the winter months.
Exactly. Or maybe you can get a sticker sheet to put some pictures of us or some hiddo iconography all over the things that you own.
Wrap it on your water bottle.
And not only do you get some beautiful merch, but you also help out the show.
Exactly.
And we know all of you want to help out the show.
I know you all want to make us smile and you want to buy our friendship. And we'll be real friends.
Yeah, so head over to headintheoffice.com, support the show, get yourself some merch, and we'll love you.
That's crazy. The other update out of Ohio, if you remember that story that we covered last week about Brittany Watts, the woman who was about to be, indicted for having a miscarriage.
Yeah, how dare she?
About to go to jail for something that happens.
Yeah,
just happens.
About to go to jail for her own personal business.
Exactly. Her own person was out of her control too. A grand jury decided not to indict her. So she's
sick.
good. So that's cool. Even though she was failed at like all 3 levels of the, legal system where there is discretion on whether or not to follow through. Remember, the cops chose to arrest her, the prosecutor chose to prosecute, and the judge chose to take up the case. The grand jury, the last line of defense in doing what's right and moral.
Yeah, the causal chain.
They actually were able to come through. So
Well,
that's good. Hopefully she can get some amount of restitution for the emotional turmoil that she's been forced to go through, having her case, thrusted into public opinion, national spotlight.
Yeah, and it's almost like, okay, sure, the grand jury bailed her out, saved her, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like shouldn't have happened anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it never should have got to the point where like, oh yeah, like this is such a big victory. It's still bad that this even got to this point.
That's what I'm saying. It's still a Democrat prosecutor is the one. I'm just following orders.
Just following the Hitler response.
The Hitler and Ken Paxton response.
Yeah.
I'm just following orders. I got to do this. Is the law.
That's wicked.
It's
well,
the law.
At least she's not going to go to jail.
Yeah, that's
over
good.
A miscarriage. Jesus Christ.
That's some good news. But I mentioned earlier in the episode. Got my W-2 this week. Saw all that money that went out and it had me thinking about taxes.
Yeah.
And then I saw some articles.
Okay.
And I'm here to share them with you now. So let's talk a little bit about taxes.
I love tax talk.
I love tax talk, especially important in an election year when you are going to be lied to about taxes.
100%.
Republicans are going to lie to you about taxes, how much you are paying in taxes, who's paying the most in taxes, who should be paying less in taxes, and really anything to do with taxes you are going to be lied to by conservatives, some liberals too, but mostly conservatives as we get into.
And we just had Ron Desantis on the debate stage saying that we should have a flat tax.
Exactly.
Because that would be the most fair.
And then Jake Tapper got in there and he's like, so you mean to say that a poor person should be paying just as much as a millionaire? And he was like, oh, well.
Percentages.
Percentage, you know what I'm saying? Well, maybe it'll be a means tested a little bit.
Well, and if it's means tested, it's just a bracket system. Like, it's our marginal tax rate.
Like,
we already have that.
Well, maybe up to like 50,000 you'll be excluded, but like anyone who making like 60,000 is going to pay the same as a billionaire. Insane.
The
dog.
crazy thing.
But you know what? As we're going to get into, that would be a better system than what Florida currently has.
Okay.
A 15% flat tax would be a better system than what they got going right now. But anyway, I digress. A report came out from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy claiming that in 41 states, the rich pay a lower effective state tax rate than the poor and middle class.
Sick.
Specifically, in 41 states, the top 1% are taxed at a lower rate than any other income bracket. And in 46 states, the top 1% are taxed at a lower rate than middle income earners. The ITEP stated that on average, the poorest 20% of taxpayers pay an effective state and local rate that's 60% higher than the richest 1%.
What, is this just like tax write-offs and stuff, deductions, all that?
This is just tax code, straight tax code.
Oh, it's just legal.
I'm pretty sure. We'll break it down for at least some states here, but let's take a moment to use this data to examine a really popular conservative talking point that we heard when we covered our debate with Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom.
Okay.
One of the big things there, conservatives love talking about how states like Florida are great because they have no personal income taxes. You don't have to worry about about the state of Florida getting its grubby little mitts into your paycheck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And people somehow think that would be good. And I'll admit that sounds pretty cool.
Sounds cool.
It sounds like
Face
it would
value.
put a good chunk of change into the hands of everybody, and especially those who need it the most, right? Right. Sounds.
First impression.
But that's only if you look at it in a vacuum. Because if we examine the totality of Florida's tax code, we find that they have the most regressive tax in the entire country. And because of that, those in the bottom 20% of earners, that is less than $20,000 a year, a gross, just total income, less than $20,000 a year, pay an effective tax rate that is 5 times that of those in the top 1%. So people who make $20,000 and under have an effective tax rate 5 times greater than those who make more than $700,000 a year.
Working class heroes in Florida over
Working
there. Ron
class
DeSantis is really supporting
heroes.
the workers in the middle of America.
Insane.
This is what they mean, by the way, when they're like, oh, we're going to fix the tax code so it's simple and everyone can understand it and so that Americans have more money in their pockets. What they mean, translation, they just want to give billionaires more money.
Fucking ridiculous.
That's all it is. They want billionaires to have to pay
ridiculous.
less in taxes. It's just a bailout for billionaires.
And it's also like government, it's no secret that governments run on taxes.
Yeah.
How else are they going to get funded?
Not
IRS,
hidden.
the only institution that brings in money, brings in more than it spends. And so when you reduce tax revenue in one area, you better be damn sure that they're going to just increase it in another. And when they talk about things like your personal income tax being eliminated in a state like Florida, it's really just a virtue signal. Because you better be damn sure the government is getting their money, no matter if it's the federal government, no matter if it's Joe Biden, or if it's a quote unquote small government conservative like Ron DeSantis, who really loves state overreach, by the way. But anyway, In Florida's case, it does so with a comparative over-reliance on excise and sales taxes, which disproportionately burden the poor.
Okay.
An extra 6% tacked on the end of a bill means a whole lot more when you are struggling to make ends meet when you're, say, I don't know, making more than $700,000 a year.
Well, yeah, and just think about it, right? Like, even if you already said a flat tax would be better, but let's think about a flat tax for just a second, right? Say you make $30,000 a year. You're struggling. You're above the poverty line, technically.
Yes.
But you are making $30,000 a year. Say you have 2 kids or something like that. 20% or 10% even of that is a much bigger deal to you than 10% of 40 million is of someone who has $40 million.
Although that 10% of 40 million may be a way bigger number.
Yeah.
The burden that 10% puts on someone who's making $40 million is incomprehensible when compared to the burden that lower income people face.
If I'm making
so small.
$40 million, I can kiss $4 million goodbye and be perfectly fine.
If I'm making $40 million, I could kiss, I don't know, like $39 million away.
and I'll
be chilling.
My material existence and security will be perfectly fine. But if I'm making $30,000 and I lose $3,000 of that,
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And then considering this is even worse than a flat tax structure, crazy.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to say. I am no proponent of a flat tax, but we'll get into it. So when we break down this data in terms of share of family income spent on taxes, we see that for sales tax, Floridians in the bottom 20% lose 7.4% of their money, whereas the top 1% only lose 1%.
Yeah.
Talk about a disproportionate burden going on here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is literally a measurement of tax burden. And we see that poor people are disproportionately burdensome by these. What the fuck is going on?
Bad.
What
bad
the
in my
fuck
opinion.
is going on?
Real bad in my opinion.
But that's not all.
Okay.
For those Floridians that are lucky enough to scrunch up the funds to purchase a home, to maybe become homeowners.
Highest cost of living in Florida, by the way.
Highest cost of living in the country. They pay a higher effective property tax rate the poorer that they are.
Great.
The bottom 20% lose 5.5% of their income, whereas the top 1% lose, again, 1.6% to property taxes. All I'm saying... Don't know.
Oh, it's just in the law. Like if you live in these areas, you pay more property tax.
I think it's relative to proportion, like share of income gone to property taxes.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see. All right.
So it's not like this, but it's how much you're burdened.
Yeah.
Again, poor people just burdened like almost 5 times more than anyone else. It's fucking ridiculous. You know, over in the conservative Mecca, Texas. We have the same story, but they also have no income tax while also having an entirely regressive effective tax code, with the bottom 20% having the greatest tax burden when it comes to sales, excise, and property taxes. And this next one, a bit of a sleeper hit. For some niche coverage, we can go over to Kentucky, Mitch McConnell's domain.
Oh, I love Kentucky.
And we can look at how they make poor people pay more money. Okay. And I think this one is pretty egregiously funny. They went through a slurry of corporate tax cuts and adopted a flat tax, which ultimately resulted in Kentucky delivering, quote, the largest windfalls to families in the upper part of the income scale, and have been paid for in part through new or higher sales and excise taxes on a long list of items such as car repairs, parking, moving services, bowling, gym memberships, tobacco, vaping, pet care, and ride-share rides.
That's so sick.
That's nuts.
Yeah, if you don't have a progressive tax structure, it just hurts poor people the most. Like lower income people. Like obviously.
You know, speaking of progressive tax structures, I alluded to a 15% flat tax being better for Florida. Do you want to know how it actually breaks down?
Okay.
You want to know how the tax brackets break down in Florida?
All right.
So the lowest 20%, that is people making less than $19,600 a year, pay a tax rate of 13.2%. The second 20%, 10.9%. Third 20%, 9.5%. Fourth 20%, 8.4%. Next 15, 6.4%. Top 5%, 5%. Top 1%, 2.7%. Strictly regressive.
Yeah.
Strictly the richer you are, the less you pay in taxes. Folks, I feel like it should be the other way around.
Yeah, I think maybe it should be the other way around. I don't know.
I feel like it shouldn't be controversial to say tax the rich, because we are taxing the fuck out of the poor.
And it's like, so for the longest time, I didn't completely understand how our tax system works. Like when it's a bracket system, right? Like I get this now. And as you go up the scale, the chunk of money within each bracket is taxed at a different rate.
Yeah.
And they're complaining, saying like, oh, we should just have a flat tax system or even no taxes at all. Your money's taxed the same in every bracket.
Exactly.
You know, like if I make 10,000 and you make 10,000, that's taxed the same. If I make 20,000, you're still at 10,000, then our first 10,000 still taxed the same amount.
It's only everything above that 10,000.
That seems fair to me.
That's what I'm saying.
That seems fair to me.
You know, if you're lucky enough to make, I don't know, like be paid $1 million in a year, our first 10,000 still taxed the same. You know, everyone's kind of on the same playing field with that. I don't think it should be the more money you make, the less you're paying.
And that's how the effective tax rates gets all fucked up, by the way, is that like when you're climbing the brackets, like that chunk of money, that pile of cash, you're paying the same flat tax rate within that bracket as other people are with the money reaching that same bracket. But then once you get above them through like deductions and sales tax and all other sources of fuckery, once those brackets are kind of smushed down and your entire effective tax is determined, you end up paying less overall,
but it's like
in percentage than people who are making much less than you, which is insane.
So many people love talking about like, oh, these conservative states, no income tax. That's great. They don't just take it straight out of your paycheck. They are taking more out of your paycheck in literally every other way. Another famous example is like property taxes in Texas. Notoriously insane. Notoriously higher than I think those in California. I think we talked about this again in the Newsom DeSantis debate. They're gonna get their money another way. They are lying to you when they say that these are great places to go. They're only great places if, I don't know, you're making over $744,000 a year,
which a lot of people aren't.
I'm never getting there. Frankly, you know, I'm never getting there. So I think it would be fair to myself. I love being good to myself, you know. I think it would be great for myself, and I think more of you should be good to yourselves and say, you know what, people making this amount of money that I'm literally never going to reach, take it all away. Fucking, let's get back to that 95% upper tax rate.
That's what it used to be when this country was great. We used to have a real country.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's like, despite the empirical evidence we have that this sort of regressive structure is really bad, we can also just intuitively think that, like, of course, those that have more, those that have benefited off of the work of others more than anyone else, should pay a larger portion of their income to the government that produces services that everyone benefits from.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Right? Like, intuitively, this makes sense that if I have a small amount of money and someone else has a very large amount of money, that they would pay a larger share of that money into the pool of common resources that we can all use. Because they didn't get all of that money all by themselves. They had to use other people. They used the roads that we all funded. They benefited from education that was funded publicly through public education. They benefited through police forces that protected their assets. It makes sense that they pay more than anybody else. It makes sense that they pay a larger proportion of their income than anybody else because they benefited in a lot of ways the most off of the work of everybody in society. So, like, yes, obviously.
But it's like still, the poorest people are still putting the most in for the rich to benefit more off of?
Yes, yeah.
What the fuck is going on? This is an excerpt from another article that covers this. It says, quote, 8 of the 10 most regressive tax systems, Florida, Washington, Tennessee, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana, rely heavily on regressive sales and excise tax, the study says. As a group, these 8 states derive 52% of their tax revenue from these taxes, sales and excise taxes, compared to the national average of 34%.
That's crazy.
That's 20% more that poor people are just like putting in. Nuts.
Jeez,
Nuts.
Man. That's tough. Well, taxes.
Gotta love them.
Gotta love how we tax people here.
And it's crazy how tax discussions skew so far towards, oh yeah, no, it's actually like taxes, income taxes. They fucking suck. Like, you know, nobody wants to pay those, but they're getting you in other ways.
Yeah.
They're getting you in every other way and making you pay more.
Yeah.
God damn.
Because they got to fund police forces. They got to fund firefighting departments. They got to fund public libraries if we have any of those left in the country, right? Like, they got to fund all of these things, road construction, et cetera, sewage, maintenance, waste management. They got to fund all these things. They're going to get their money somehow. And if it's not through taxing the people that have the most in their state, it's going to be through wringing poor people for all that they have.
Insane.
And that seems like that's what's happening in Texas and Florida. I don't support it.
I do not. I do not support it. I support a progressive tax system.
Yeah.
I support rich people paying more money than me.
I would even support, I don't know, communism.
That's what I'm saying. You know, speaking of communism, communist bastion, Minnesota, one of the most progressive tax rates.
That's pretty sick.
That's right. Minnesota,
and they're doing good things.
California, New York, Vermont, Maine, and New Jersey are the most progressive state tax rates in the country.
Good stuff.
Pretty good. We're not doing too hot here in Michigan.
We're not.
I'm paying more than, I don't know, millionaires that walk by me.
That's pretty awesome.
That's what I'm.
Oh, that's because you should work harder.
True.
You're not working hard enough.
I got to get back on my grind set.
Yeah, you're not working hard enough. If you got into the higher tax brackets, then you could be them. But you're just not working hard enough.
Fuck, I really need to. Instead of advocating for a better system, I really need to get into the higher tax bracket.
Yeah. No, you should individually take on this burden. This does not speak to any systemic issues.
Exactly. You know what I mean? That just means I got to get my grind set harder.
Yeah, for real.
You know what? Fuck, man.
Thinking.
Fuck.
We end off on some extra news, a couple of extra news items.
Get some little extras.
So one thing that happened this past week was Hunter Biden in a congressional hearing. The funny thing here is that whatever House committee is investigating the fat cock, they were holding some kind of hearing. Hunter Biden previously requested that whatever his subpoena or his testimony is public, so that they can't clip him out of context or just rob the context of anything that he says.
So they can't just have a watch party of all the sex tapes.
Exactly.
Nice.
And so Republicans said, no, we're not going to do that. And he said, I only want to do it publicly. So they couldn't get to an agreement. So they are holding this congressional hearing. It's on C-SPAN. They're doing their thing, dunking on Hunter Biden. And then Hunter Biden pulls up.
Nice.
Hunter Biden arrives on the scene.
Power move.
Sits down. It's a public hearing. And they were all pretty flabbergasted by it. And then it gets to Marjorie Taylor Greene's turn to ask questions, and he walks out. And I fully support it. That's sick.
Good.
That's sick.
Because how are you going to show cock when the dude's right there?
Exactly. Well, and she did show the cock still.
That's crazy.
She showed another one.
Another one?
It was another.
She showed a new picture?
Well, I don't know if it was a new picture or what it was, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, she does a point of order or something. She starts talking and she's like, "Can I enter something into the record?"
Oh my god!
And immediately another congressman, Jamie Raskin's like, "Well, hold on."
Is it cock?
Yeah, he said, "Can you describe what it is before showing it?" And then she doesn't do it. The chair lets her show it because it's a Republican-led committee, and lo and behold, it's pictures with censor bars of him doing his thing with sex workers.
She's collecting the shit like Pokemon cards, man. She is some poor staffer in her office is just having to comb through all of these sex tape videos to find the perfect frame.
Yeah,
the perfect frame to get put up.
And
there.
the reason I said I don't know if it was new pictures is because Jamie Raskin was like, "Can we not have these shown? What are we doing?"
There's no
and
point.
Then the chair was like, "Oh, well, they've already been entered into the congressional record." So I think it was the same photos. She just brought them again for the love of the game.
Come on.
And I think he was not in the room at this point, Hunter Biden. So it would have been crazy if she brought those up while he was there.
And I'm supposed to respect these sacred halls.
Yeah. The fact that Democrats can't beat these people is crazy. They're showing dick in Congress and we can't defeat them. Oh, it'd be so for real.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my fuck, man. They're just.
Yeah.
I love them.
In some more serious news, the hearings or the trial of Israel on genocide charges at the International Court of Justice has begun. Again, we talked about last episode how South Africa has brought these charges against Israel, and I guess we're gonna see where this will go. This is gonna take some time, but the Israeli government was already putting out tweets like, "Doesn't matter what The Hague says, we will be victorious," which is crazy.
That's a wild thing to say.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I'm just waiting for the inevitable guilty conviction to come through. And then the United States steps in and somehow has veto power.
Yeah, that would be cool.
You know what I mean?
There is that one law in the books. I think that was passed under George W. Bush.
That the Hague doesn't apply to us?
Well, the Hague doesn't apply, and we can invade if any of our people get tried at the Hague.
We can invade the Hague?
Yeah, we can invade Netherlands.
That's
sick, isn't that crazy?
Actually, that's kind of cool.
I don't think U.S. isn't on trial here. Maybe we should be, but we're not. Israel's on trial, and it seems like they were just like the IDF or whatever account was just spam posting about how the Hague's not going to stop us. We will be victorious. We will secure our future. Blah blah blah. Basically saying the 14 words without saying the white race.
That's wow. It's so wild to position yourself against enforcing war crime laws. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, especially, saying oh, we want to prevent another Holocaust and kind of doing another one. You know what I mean? That's kind of crazy.
That's nice.
I would say don't do that.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. And another bit of news, there's been some murmurs. There's been some murmurs within the House.
Okay.
About maybe getting rid of Mike Johnson.
No way.
I read an article
Again?
from The Hill and NBC
man.
about how they're not serious yet. But there are whispers between the Freedom Caucus
because he won't get rid of Social Security.
No, it's literally that. It's literally because he's trying to cut deals with Democrats to actually get I don't think it's a budget to just get shit passed. but they're not happy with the little amount of cuts to federal programs
man.
that's in it.
That would be so good.
I hope it happens, but moderate Democrats are here to ruin it.
No, they're going to keep him?
They might. Henry Schuler, who you can hardly call a Democrat anymore.
Okay.
It's he's the only pro-life Democrat out of Texas.
him.
You remember him? Yeah. And Dan Kildee.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
He needs to retire quicker.
Unfortunately,
Get out of the house.
Dan Kildee, our congressman,
Yeah.
our rep, he's not representing me right now.
Nah, I think he's retiring at the end of this session. Get out now.
Hopefully.
Goodbye.
Get out before the speakership debacle happens.
Yeah.
Is all I'm going to say. They've got on and they said that they don't want to do it. That they might consider saving him so that they can actually get things passed. And it's like, okay, you know what? If you're at a point with these deals where you think you can get some concessions out of him, you better get those concessions before you save him.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It's like, okay, the House GOP is going to need a reason to kick him out, right?
Yes.
So they're going to need a reason to kick him out. So that means Democrats could get a bill first that keeps Social Security going, and then Republicans kick him out, right? Like, use him and then get rid of him.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, don't just save him to save him.
And you know what? I want to have faith that that's what they want to do. And it's not some corny shit about, like, you know what, we just need to pass. We need to
These
move
sacred
past
halls,
all
yeah.
this, these sacred, like, we need to move past this. We need to represent the people. We need to stop holding us up, and we need to pass legislation. Somebody said this has been like the least productive Congress ever, and it's like, fuck, dude, I believe it. Like, nothing has
4
gotten
bills
done.
passed.
Yeah, like, it's kind of insane.
Named
actually.
a couple post offices, maybe.
But oh my goodness, I would be so sad if they did end up saving him though, without being able to get any concessions.
Yeah, it's a perfect opportunity. We need to drop the civility bullshit. Like, having them fall apart is great.
Because like the way I see it, it's like, okay, if you can get this guy kicked out, they only right now, I think for the next month, because like the whip is out, the majority whip is out, and there's some other shenanigans going on. They only need all of the Democrats and 3 conservatives to vote to kick him out.
Yeah, that's so good.
That's good.
That's good.
The chance is there, ripe. You know what I'm saying? This is
my
great.
God.
And I feel like maybe it's a great move to get him out there and force the moderate conservatives, if that's even a word anymore, force like the Mitt Romney types to actually put up a moderate for the House vote.
Yeah. Well, then that really benefits Democrats.
Exactly.
Right?
Then they can actually continue to cut deals instead of being able to cut one deal to keep this fucking lunatic
with Speaker Himmler.
Speaker Himmler in.
Yeah.
We could actually get like, I don't know, a Mitt Romney type. Which,
Yeah.
I think that would be the move.
That would be a lot better,
who the fuck
yeah.
am I? You
Oh
know
my
what I
God.
mean?
The GOP house is Sisyphus, and the top of the mountain is having a GOP speaker.
I'm saying.
A permanent GOP speaker, a leader
my
of the
goodness.
party.
We need to get Dan Kildee on the pod. We need to reach
Oh.
out like, hey, we're your constituents. We do this podcast, flex the TikTok numbers a little bit. Come justify your statement on why you want to keep Mike Johnson.
Oh, and by the way, what do you think about Israel Gaza? I don't think you would agree with us on very many things.
Yeah, I think that he's retiring, so
Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
exactly. We can grill him.
We could get well connected. We could be like, hey, so who's going to be your successor? And we're political consultants now.
We could charge him for showing up to our stew. You thought this was an interview?
Oh no, yeah.
No, we're consulting right now.
Well, this is a campaign event.
It was in the fine print.
Yeah.
Wow, frankly, a guy, a man of your stature.
I was going to say, yeah,
power.
really? Someone that has your history, you're not going to pay us?
Oh my goodness, wow.
Make it a whole controversy. I think that brings us to the end of the episode.
It does.
The people that we have to thank. Let us know if you're supposed to be on this patron list. If you've signed up recently, we've had a couple new people join, so welcome. I love you, and I'm happy you're here. If you belong on this list and we missed your name, just let us know. DM us, tell us, we'll get your name. Or if your name's on here and it's incorrect, if we say it wrong, let us know.
We implore you to yell at us about this. This is important. You are my special.
Yeah, you are my special.
You are my special.
That's
Caden
right.
Kraut, Lord Tal the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, 40% Spite, Dylan B., Andrew Harris, Mike Jablinski, Mattias T., Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Mayer, Maldonado, Hunter W., Fergalaki, Max Vezquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cuts, Veryuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfishin, Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's boyfriend, Jonathan Cass as Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarlson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and His Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Aiden Taylor, Corey Chambers, Sewer Snack, Ellie-Ann, John Glover, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Meatball Minion, Emma the Dude Slayer, Breezy B, Veronica, aka V, Raccoon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, 3 Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic,
Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, and Hope of Giants, A.K. Gone, Aquana Dawn, Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Ishi Teddy, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay-Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C., Pab the Pab 69, Kayla Lowe, Anna Valenic, Eduardo Diaz, KCC, Say Yes to West, August, Particular Pickman, Sir Capalot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan is Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Zen doing their best, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, Sasha, MJ is Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Southwest Socialism, Jared Finch, Evil Vegan, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Willie Swags, Chris E, Fermented Spider, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, and my mom. You are my special. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon. If you belong on this list and you're not there, let us know. Make sure you show up for the live stream.
Come chill with us. Come hang out.
Consider throwing your weight behind Head in the Office in the form of a Patreon subscription.
That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying, if we don't get more patrons, I'm about to start throwing JJK manga spoilers out there.
Everyone, you better catch up.
I'm fucking caught up now. Y'all have a week till the next episode.
By the time we are on the live stream, get caught up on JJK.
That's what I'm saying. Then
We're talking about it.
We can have a discussion about how a certain character is going to get out of a certain predicament cliffhanger that happened at the end of last chapter.
That's right. And if you're going to show up to the live stream, the pre-show, and you're going to think like, oh yeah, we'll make a bingo card. Nah, we're reading JJK.
That's what I'm saying.
We're analyzing panels.
We're discussing theories. we are going through what the fuck I think is going to happen. All I'm saying, they might switch perspectives next chapter.
And then clock will hit 9 and we're like, oh shit, got to turn on the debate.
Fuck, man, whatever.
Thanks for listening,
You'll
everyone.
see me on my phone just reading Shonen Jump the whole time.